Ospreay and Danielson deliver an absolute clinic. There is title changes, and Jericho stinks the place out again. This is, though, the AEW Dynasty review on the channel. The pre-show was really dominated by one real match. They had a few matches on the pre-show, but the one that made the biggest difference was Bullet Club Gold kind of unifying the championships against the Acclaimed. Max Caster's promo, though. The rap at the start. I don't know if he's going to be suspended for that, but yeah, that's going to be a bit of a dodgy one. But Bullet Club Gold did pick up the win and get the gold, so to speak, on that one. The first match, it kicks off with Okada defending the Continental Gold against Pac. This match was designed pretty much to have both of these guys beat the fire out of each other for a good while, and it's exactly what happened. It was a heck of a fight, you know, Pac being the perfect choice, really, for Okada in his first defense. You know, and there is a reason that Pac has that kind of reputation of being such a great sort of opponent for pretty much anybody, because of what he does in the ring is absolutely incredible. And him and Okada delivered a 20-minute outstanding start to the pay-per-view. The Rainmaker did retain, obviously. He did go for the funny enough, Pac did hit a nasty tombstone of that actually as well. But when Pac went for the falling arrow, the Rainmaker did raise his knees and retain the title. It's just a shame, I would say, that Pac misses so much time away for whatever reason, whether it's visa issues or injuries. I would love to see him get a consistent run in AEW, because I think he's got so much to offer that company and on a very stacked roster as well. But Okada probably wasn't a surprise, being it was Okada's first defense of the title, you know. I would say that, but still a heck of a way to open the pay-per-view. They did recap after that the Adam Copeland, Kingston and Briscoe House of Black feud that has been going on recently, which has really got us to this match, which was a trios match, the House of Black, Briscoe Copeland against Briscoe Copeland as well as Kingston. And this match also, you know, about just shy of 20 minutes. It got some good time in the ring. The ending of this was the right way to go, as long as they continue the story. Now, the ending was this. Was Black Mass to Copeland and the Mist by Malachi Black to give the House of Black the victory. So it looks like Malachi Black could be the next challenger for the TNT Championship. I really hope it is, because that would be fantastic. I think Edge, I don't think he's worked with him singly before. So it'd be a fantastic, you know, match to do. It'd be a great feud for Copeland. We know that he likes working the younger talent, especially on the twilights of his career. He just wants to have this sort of, you know, way to end his career by going over against, well, not going over, but going against some of the best young talents. And Malachi Black will be a superb feud, as long as it does go ahead. Of course, we don't know. They did tease it as well, the Copeland Black showdown, which was about 10 seconds, which does make it all long interesting. But good stuff in this match, and it does set up something good down the road. As long as they do it, it would be brilliant. I would love to see Malachi Black and Adam Copeland. Let's hope that we do, or Edge. Does it really matter what you call him? I don't know. We do see a bit of a recap of the Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale feud. Mercedes Monet's being involved as well in this. Julia Hart defending the TBS title. Now, we understand potentially an injury as well to Julia Hart before this match. And it didn't really last long. And this, again, I'm thinking because of the injury, this may be the reason why it didn't last long. But it was the result that they needed to go, as Nightingale actually finally wins, I would say, something important in AEW, which is interesting, because down the line, we know that Mercedes' first match, I believe, is going to be a title match. I'm not sure how that works in the ranking system, but nevertheless, we'll have to see. But she does have it, and I think next month she'll be taking on Mercedes Moné, which is also interesting, because back in Japan, it was Mercedes and Willow had the match that injured Mercedes. So is it, you know, that's a good way of getting full circle from that particular match. And I think Willow beat Mercedes in that match. So Mercedes could get the one up on Willow and beat her in her potentially her first defense. I'm sure she'll have some defenses on Collision or Rampage or Dynamite before we get to the match with Mercedes going forward. I mean, this didn't go long. I mean, this was less than 10 minutes, this match itself. We say, I think Julia's got an injury. She did succumb to the power bomb from Willow Nightingale. But yeah, I think with this one, it's probably going to be done a change due to injury and due to moving the storyline forward with Nightingale and Mercedes, maybe a turn from one or both, or even Statlander as well, because they've been aligning with Stokely Hathaway recently. So I think that could be, Nightingale, Statlander sort of aligns with Hathaway more so and do a full-fledged heel turn on Mercedes more than Mercedes turning heel. I don't see that happening just yet. At the next point, we recap the international title with Roderick Strong defending against Kylie Rowe. They used to be friends. Now they're fighting for the title. And I tell you what, it was technically sound, right? This match. I really enjoyed the technicality of it. These two men can both go in the ring. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. And I feel as if these two put on a brilliant contest in this. Again, just shy of 20 minutes, the end of the heartache for the pin for Roddy Strong to retain the title. The only thing I would say is at the moment, this Undisputed Kingdom thing isn't working for me. Now, it could start working, though, because Adam Cole come out in a wheelchair at the end of the match. He did get up off the wheelchair and walk to the ring, and then stares, gives Wardlow a really dodgy stare. Wardlow's looking in front of him. Adam Cole's behind him, and he cuts right through him with a stare there. Not sure if there's anything to read into that at this moment, but potentially there's some dissension in the Undisputed Kingdom. It needs, I felt that they really had this well done, this Undisputed Kingdom, the Devil and all of that stuff. But I think momentum went straight down straight away because MJF left, and with Adam Cole being injured, you really couldn't capitalize on what was such a really good storyline from AEW last year. I felt it dropped off the edge of a cliff, really, and it needs to come back, especially if MJF is on his way back. Hopefully that will be soon as well. We was hoping it was going to be at this pay-per-view, but actually he didn't. So it's going to be interesting. I just need that storyline needs to kick up now if they're going to do anything with it, or it has just really died a death. So hopefully that story will kick off and we'll be able to get a bit more of this Undisputed Kingdom faction and more of a continuation of what happened really at World's End. So we'll wait and see. But a really good match between Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, like you probably would imagine. Those two delivered in a big way. Hook and Chris Jericho was next. They've done a little bit of a prologue of it beforehand. Before the program, before this pay-per-view started, I had a feeling that Jericho would get the win here. Generally, just because it's probably the dumbest thing. I mean, it really is a disaster right now. Hook already beat Jericho previously. Jericho wins again, it was nearly 20 minutes, this match. I don't think it needed half of that time. I feel as if Jericho needs to take some time away. I think what he done in the WWE was when it got to a point of the gimmicks going stale, things were going stale, he left for 6 months and then done a load of teasers to come back. I think Jericho needs to do that because at the moment, I mean, this match just wasn't that good. There was a load of miscommunication in there. Yes, he hit the Judas effect for the win. Hook looked okay in this, but Jesus, on this pay-per-view itself, with everything that sort of preceded it as well, it makes it even worse. But Jericho needs to come away from AEW for some time before coming back. You know what? If he went away, I know he's got the FTW title now, but if he went away now and come back All In, he didn't need a match. If he could just come back at All In, return to All In or something like that, that would be fine and it would be perfect. But something needs to happen on it, and it needs to happen quick because this really wasn't good. And Jericho just he isn't what he was, and I think it's time that he needs to potentially consider. Look, I'm not a wrestler. I've never portrayed to be one, but when a wrestler's time is really getting close to being. I mean, you change him and Copeland. Copeland is still having awesome matches. Jericho isn't even having awesome matches anymore. So, put it into perspective. I think he needs to go away. I think he needs to be 4, 5, 6 months away and then come back. But he does need to also consider when it's time to hang it up and potentially maybe join commentary because he's a good commentator. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, dodgy match this. Didn't like it. Didn't do Hook any favors. Didn't even do Jericho any favors, really. And should have been at least half the time it was. They did recap now after that. The Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm. Jesus, yes. We've had some thunders. Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa in a battle of lightning. Jesus, in this match. Next. Now, this, on the other hand, was I didn't know, like, both of these women can go. There's no doubt about that. This was one of Toni Storm's best matches in AEW, and certainly Thunder Rosa's best match since she's returned. It felt like a big time fight, and this is one of the things with the women's, not necessarily in AEW, but along the way in other promotions. Some of their women's matches don't have that big time, big fight feel. This is exactly what it needed. This match was brilliant. I was really, wasn't sure. I thought it was going to be good, but it was great. So it was a nice little surprise. It was better than one. This went about 20 minutes again, which is nice. It got a good length of time when, again, you can argue that some women's matches don't. There was a couple of Storm Zeros in it, and one of them finally puts Thunder Rosa away, but she was battling Thunder Rosa throughout the whole of this match. She was a battler. She battled her way through. It just wasn't enough at the moment. I don't think it's the right time to take the title off of Thunder Rosa, Toni Storm. Anyway, just her character's perfect. Everything she's doing, it's the perfect storm, so to speak, at the minute for this, and they really need to keep it on the title right now. Her championship right now. Now, surprisingly for me, the next match was Ospreay and Danielson. The reason why I say surprising is because there was matches after this that I would have, there's still a great load of matches after this that was amazing. That A was amazing and B would be amazing anyway. So to have this on now, I think personally, if I was a critique, this probably would have main evented. I know Joe and Swerve and all of that with the title, but I feel as if you've got to sometimes you just got to know when the right time is not to have your title main event. And I'm a big advocate of having world titles at main events. I really am. But there is sometimes just a match where you have to say that needs the main event. And this was it. And it didn't. Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson was next. Wow. This was, I don't know what I can say about this. It just was unbelievable. 30 minutes of the best wrestling you'll ever see, possibly this year, possibly next year, possibly the year after that. This was unbelievable match. I mean, look, you can know with Danielson and Ospreay, you know exactly what you're getting, right? But my God, this was incredible. The Tiger Driver onto the neck at the end looked horrific. I'm not sure whether that actually injured Danielson. He did hit the hidden blade at the end, Ospreay for the victory. I don't know if there is an extent of Danielson's injury, if there was one, if he was working, but Ospreay wins in 30. I mean, I can't say enough about this other than just go and watch it. Just literally go and watch it because it was unreal. And the only criticism I'm going to give it is that it should have been the main event of the match, because the matches after this, although were good, it just, it was just too good to be not main event. And kudos. And I really hope Danielson's okay, because that looked a nasty, nasty Tiger driver. I believe actually at the conference after, Ospreay said he's going to retire that move now. I don't know whether that's a character thing, whether that was just meant for there, or whether he's actually truly going to retire that move. I don't know. But yeah, he was quite visibly shaken by it, and the damage that he potentially done Danielson. Whether or not it did do any damage, we don't actually know at this point. If we did, hopefully Danielson's okay, because it was an unbelievable match. See, ladder match for the tag titles or next. See, this is what I mean. Ospreay, you literally coming down off of that match, and then you have an FTR Young Bucks ladder match, 20 minutes. It was I didn't think FTR was ever gonna win this match, just because of the way the Bucks have been presented since they've returned, Nicholas and Matthew. The match itself cranked up the violence in it. It worked well enough, and there's some of the spots on there were great, amazing spots. The ending of this, though, as Dax, I think, was going to win the ladder in about 20 odd minutes or so, a guy in a mask pushes Dax off the ladder, and the Bucks win the titles. And the guy in the mask is, of course, the scapegoat, Jack Perry, making his return to AEW after All In last year and all of that stuff with Punk. He was in New Japan, of course. Jack Perry is back in AEW, aligned himself with the Bucks. I'll be interested to see how that goes. Match itself, again, a really good match. There was a 450 through a table. There was a power driver onto a bridged ladder. There was so much stuff going on in this. As I said, the only issue I had with it is that it followed Ospreay and Danielson, and you just don't really want to be doing that, to be fair. But a great outing. Good to see Jack Perry back. Be interesting to see what they do with that this week on Dynamite. Now Jack Perry has returned and seemingly aligned himself with the Young Bucks. Very interesting indeed. A well put together match. Main event was next. Swerve Strickland versus Samoa Joe. Wow. I mean, they put on a good match here. I don't think the match, again, it's difficult. I don't think the match got to that top level, but after what you'd already seen, what was the top level, if that makes sense? I don't know. It went shy of 18 minutes or so. And I think what AEW done well here is Swerve Strickland's been knocking on that door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door of the world title when he hadn't won it. But Swerve did win the world title with the Swerve Stomp. And I think really it was his last chance saloon on that. And that is what it matters, that he won it. He won the big moment. Very good way to wrap up a great pay-per-view other than the Hook Jericho match. But I just feel positioning, and I've said this to Dave, a co-host on the show, a few times. The one thing that AEW sometimes doesn't get right is positioning of matches on the card, or positioning of bits and pieces throughout Dynamite. And I just felt here that, again, when you've witnessed Ospreay and Danielson, and look, AEW ain't the only ones that have done it in the past. You've seen it elsewhere where they've had this amazing match and you've had to follow that, and it just isn't possible. You've seen it elsewhere. It's not just AEW that's had this issue before. But on this pay-per-view, I felt that Jericho and Hook knocked a good few points off of the score, just because it just shit. It really was. And the positioning of the matches kind of loses half a mark, just because if you'd had Ospreay Danielson at the end, I get it. Swerve champion, it should be the main event, and it should be the way it ended the show. And they've done it right in that sense. But I just think sometimes logic needs to come into this and think, well, how good Ospreay and Danielson is going to be. Should really anything follow it? And that's where I'd say, but overall, 8.5 out of 10, really good pay-per-view. 95% of the matches in here were great. Positioning a little bit difficult. One match just stunk the joint out, unfortunately. But other than that, strong showing from AEW. good pay-per-view or great pay-per-view leads on to an interesting Dynamite now with so many elements coming out of this pay-per-view. We'll be here to review it as well this week. Until then, now, everybody, this has been the Dynasty review on the channel. Take care. Goodbye.